Chapter 18, Callum. Math. That was something I could do, something in this world I could make sense of. Mrs. Paxton had already taken me to one side and told me that I would probably be moving to the top math stream for my own year after the Crossmas holiday. Mrs. Paxton was one of the few cross teachers who didn't treat me like poo she wanted to scrape off her shoes. And she'd offer me extra lunchtime or early morning tutoring if I wanted it. I was on the last question of my sheet on simultaneous equations when a strange ripple swept through the classroom. I looked up. Seffi. My heart bounced about like it was pinging on elastic. Seffi was back. A whole 5 days without seeing her. A whole 5 days with no word from her. She looked okay. Maybe one cheek was a little puffy, but otherwise she was just the same as before. Except for her eyes. She looked everywhere but directly at me. "Welcome back, Persephone," said Mrs. Paxton, smiling. "Thank you." Seffi's smile was fleeting. "Take a seat." Already Mrs. Paxton was turning back to the whiteboard. Seffi looked around as did everyone else. The only free seat was next to me. Seffi looked at me, then immediately looked away. Her gaze swept around the room. I bent my head. Another ripple spread around the room. Mrs. Paxton turned around. "Is something wrong, Persephone?" "There's nowhere for me to sit, Mrs. Paxton," Seffi said quietly. "There's a seat next to Callum. That's quite enough noise from the rest of you. Get on with your work," Mrs. Paxton called out against the rising tide of voices. "But Miss Bawden and I said I wasn't to sit with any of the nuts." "Miss Bawden meant at lunchtime," Miss Paxton declared. "There's only one spare seat left in the class, and unless you'd rather sit on the floor, I suggest you use it." Dragging her feet, Seffi came and sat down next to me, drawing her chair away as she did. And she didn't look at me once. Inside, my guts were melting. "Okay, who's finished the equation?" Mrs. Paxton said. A few hands went up. Mine stayed down. I wanted to look at Seffi, but I didn't dare. Clasped my hands together, bowed my head, closed my eyes. I know knots aren't really supposed to believe in or pray to you because you're really the god of the crosses. But please, please don't let anything or anyone come between me and Seffi. I'm begging you. Please, if you're up there."